Hello, my name is Rob Garner. I'm a computer programming instructor, and today I'm going to demonstrate how to set up reference images in Maya. So, we have Maya open, and we want to set up. First thing we need to do is set up our work environment. You'll notice I have a heads-up display over here on the left, and what this shows me is how many tries I'm using when I build a model. So we want that, and the way we can get those is by clicking Display, Heads-up Display, and selecting the poly count heads-up display. The other thing we want to do is open up our preferences window, and under settings we want our working units for our project to be meters. That lines up better with Maya, and I'm going to click Save. And under display for the grid, we're going to click the dialog button here. If you click on a menu item itself, it just will, in this case, show or not show the grid. But what we want is to change. If you want to change the grid's characteristics, you click on the dialog button here. It'll bring up these options, and we want a length and width of 5 units, a grid line every 1 unit, and with subdivisions every 10 units. So make sure that that's set that way, and that will make a nice grid pattern for us to work with. And then the next step is adding our reference images. So if we hit the space bar, it'll switch back and forth between the single view and the quad view. And if you select the view you want to, if you just hover over the view you want to see, it'll switch quickly between each view just with the space bar. So we want the front view. And the next thing we're going to do is add a plane. And the way you can add a plane is either going to polygons and clicking here. However, we want to make sure a few things are set before we start creating things. So if we go to the Create menu, Polygon Primitives, and if we then look at this menu, we want to make sure that the Interactive Creation button is selected here. And what that does is if we don't have it set and we create a plane, it just throws it on the screen, and you can't see it here because it actually by default throws it flat to the grid. And so I'm going to delete that plane, and instead what we want is we want our interactive creation menu enabled, so that now when we create a plane, which we can create either by clicking on the convenient buttons that are displayed here, or we could go to Create and create it here as well. If I create a plane here, it'll ask me to click and drag, and so I'll just approximately position and size my plane where I want it, and I want this to be roughly human size, so I'm going to set the height as 2 and the width as 1, so that would be 2 meters by 1 meter. I'm also going to go up here under the translate and set the X translate to 0 so that it's centered, and the Y translate to 1 so that it moves it up and the bottom is lined up with the bottom of the plane. And you can see that that places this plane nicely lined up on our grid. So back in the front view, the next thing we want to do is add our reference images on here. And the way we can do that is I'm going to select it, click the right mouse button, and scroll down to Add New Material. And the type of material we want to add is a Lambert shader. So I'm going to click Lambert here. And in my And then this is the Lambert that was added. And in my Lambert shader, I'm going to click on color, then click on file because we want to shade it from a file. And down in the file, I'm going to click on the file icon, and I'm going to navigate to where my image is that I want to add in here. And this one will be the front view, so I'm going to pick the front image and open it up. Now to see your image, you need to set both the smooth shade all button and then also the textured button, and you'll see your image now pop up. Once it's there though, you'll notice it's not centered and it's not lined up correctly. So what we want to do is click on UV, and we want to add a planar UV mapping. And I'm going to click on the dialog button here. And I'm going to select Z. And it didn't quite take. Let's try that again. UV, planar. And now what happens is it centers it up. I would like this to be a little wider so I can grab these handles and line it up approximately where I want it to be widthwise. About 1.5. And I can tweak that here. Then in my perspective plane, again, to see it here, I'm going to turn on this the texture button. And what I want to do is move it. So I'm going to click W so I get my move handles, and I'm going to move it to the back of the scene. What that does is it leaves a space open where I might do modeling, but when I look at it from the front view, I have this reference image available. I'm now going to do the same thing for the side view. And you'll notice there that when I set this one, I kept the image width height ratio. That's probably been a good idea with the other one, in order to keep the ratio that we did artistically, or moderately artistically perhaps. And let's see, now I've got this image, and you'll notice that there's a problem here because this is backwards to what this is, and it would make modeling kind of odd to work with that. So let's see if we can fix that. So if I change the scale to -1 here, it'll flip it around. And now our images should work correctly. Another useful display to use is the outliner. What the outliner does is it allows us to select things very quickly. And what I'd like to do is put both my reference planes. Well, first I'd like to rename them. So if I double click on them, I'll say reference front and reference side. And I'm going to select both of my images and go to the channel box / layer editor, and in the layer editor I can create a layer from selected. So I'm going to create this layer and I'm going to double click on it so that I can rename it to reference layer. And that allows me to turn this layer on and off if I need to. And then also I'm going to deselect this button here so that I can't delete these things by accident. So once I have that and it's complete, I'm going to select my items and then go to the channel box and edit, delete by type, and delete history. And it's often a good idea to delete history. It will keep your rendering a little cleaner. So at this point, since I know this is good, I will delete the history, and then I'll save this, save the scene. And that will keep this, and so now this is set up for me to continue on with modeling later on. Thank you very much.